Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday Sit Down, the show where anything goes and nothing gets left behind. As always, I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, and I want to welcome you to the Season 2 finale of Sunday Sit Downs. And I always like to try, when it comes to the final episode of another year gone here in the community, I like to always give us a little something special, something that will definitely be something that really gives us a good conversation, but more importantly, something that you can take away from and maybe be a little inspired by. And this episode is definitely one for the Booktube and the AuthorTube community, because we are going to be talking to someone who is a YouTuber, not doing as much content as she used to, but is someone that was also trying to become an author while she was also creating her YouTube channel. And she has officially gotten to that point in her life. She has done a couple of books, and I'm really excited because this is someone who I have spoken to and have been friends with for many, many years, pretty much when I really started reaching out to the community. She and I have been relatively close, and she is also the person who created one of the segments that I have done on my channel, the Friday Five. So without further ado, I want to welcome the author and YouTuber, Sara Crawford, to my channel. Sara, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining me on this very special finale of Sunday Sit Downs tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. You do a lot of great stuff on YouTube, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I think it's about time that you and I actually did an actual live collaboration together. It only took us, what, like 6-7 years?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But look, it's all fine because you've been pretty busy. You have had a lot of very good things happening, especially when it comes to your passion and what you really enjoy doing. So there are a lot of young people now in the YouTube and Booktube community that are trying to do a lot of the things that you have done. And I think that it's important that someone of your status really takes the time to give people a couple of interesting little truths and some important momentums to take away. So to see that it's not something that's impossible, it's just something you gotta work at. So as always, I like to begin at the beginning. Sometimes I don't, but this time we definitely will be. And I think that I personally don't even know the answer to this question, which is why I'm asking it. And that is, what came first here when it comes to Sara Crawford and who she is? Was it the author that came first, or was it the YouTuber that came first? And what was the inspiration to both Sara Crawfords in this case?
All right. Well, I've pretty much been a writer ever since I learned how. So when I was like 8 years old, I used to write little plays and make my neighbors perform them on the driveway. But I would say I haven't really been an author since about 2017. That's when my first book was published. So I started my YouTube channel in about 2008, I think, but it was initially just a platform for me to share my music on. So I wasn't really like talking about books or writing or anything until about 2015, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it's, I guess it's all been kind of mixed in, like, it's, you know, I'm always just trying different things and creating different content and getting myself out there, that kind of stuff. But the inspiration for being an author, I think just I've always been in love with stories. So I would say even ever since I was a kid, like I've just been inspired by my favorite books and movies and TV shows and plays, and even books and movies and TV shows and plays that I didn't love, like could be inspiration to me in some way. So And then what inspired me to start talking about books and writing and music on YouTube was really the booktuber. Like I started getting into watching certain like booktubers, really the kind of the bigger ones. That was like 2014-ish. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching people talk about books, and they were also passionate about it. So I thought I would give it a shot and share some of my passions. So
Yeah, I mean, when I first became a YouTuber, I was always like saying to myself, and I'm sure you did the exact same thing, like you weren't going to be quitting your day job. This was definitely something that you want to add to your repertoire for the sake of just, getting a little motivated, as you said, seeing what else is out there, putting yourself out there, because, one of the few things that I've particularly learned is the fact that YouTube ended up being a very important tool for me in terms of uh, showing what my skills were in the area of information technology, because when I started my YouTube channel, I was on the verge of making a big change in my life, and that was going to be leaving the job that I had in financial services and trying to go into something that could be more of a career and not so much a job. But what
right.
YouTube really did was it allowed me to balance my work and balance my studies, balance my passion for movies and popular culture. And I really learned a lot of the skills that I even use now in the job that I currently have. But the Booktube community has also been a big part of my life here, because when I finished getting my master's, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to get back into reading. So people like you and people like Sara Ellis and people like Sam from Sam's Nonsense and Brie Fauché, these were all the people that I first started discovering, because that was basically when Booktube itself within YouTube was in its infancy.
Yeah.
So finding out that there was a bunch of people out there that were talking about books, I was like, wow, I would like to know what else is out there. And I'm just glad that people like you have gotten me back into reading, and not just getting back into reading, but really enjoying it and trying to do it as often as possible. I've read so many great books in the last 5 years, and I'm just really excited to read more. And dare I say it, this community has also been the reason why I'm reading comic books again. I'm just loving the fact that I am rather sitting and reading rather than just zoning out in front of the TV. Not that I don't do that either. That's great too.
Yeah.
After all, a lot of the good shows on television and movies that are out there right now, of course, are from books. So we have to always remember those humble beginnings. Right now, my favorite show that is on right now is His Dark Materials. I am just loving it to death.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about that one.
It is great, and yes, I love Lin-Manuel Miranda. Talking about plays, you say, I mean, he's one of the greatest playwrights ever. He is fantastic as Lee Scoresby. So anyway, let's get into the second question, and that is, did you use your YouTube channel as a motivational tool for your writing, or was it there for other motivational means?
I think when I first started doing the writing tip videos, which was around the time I started doing the Booktube videos, it was all intertwined. I initially started out giving other people writing tips, like just things that I've learned, and I got a master's degree in creative writing, and I've just studied writing for a long time, so I kind of just was passing on my knowledge. But then as I got into it, I started discovering that I would be doing videos that were tips that I needed to hear just as much as anybody else,
Right, absolutely.
Right. Like I did a video maybe about a year ago, I don't know, that was about writing every day. And if I gave myself helpful tips as well as, other people. So yeah, so I would say like it didn't start out as a motivational tool for me, but it kind of developed into that.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because it's very similar to me. I mean, When I made my YouTube channel, it was because I was always someone that liked to talk about popular culture. And for me at the beginning, it was just about, here's a place where I can record myself talking about these new movies and these old movies and these new bands that I'm listening to, and just, toss my voice out there. Whoever wants to listen can listen. But I think that it was in 2014 where I really started to see that YouTube was going beyond kiddie videos. Like, it was really turning into a place where people were going to make connections with people, find friends. Because the one thing that I always find that seems to be the same thing when there's ever a person doing a Booktube newbie tag, every single person seems to have no friends who read. And then they discover all these people that do like to read, and that's how these friendships are formed. I mean, the best part is finding out that there are people in the community that are actually in your own community. Like, I still like to say the fact that one of my very good friends and her husband are people that I met because of the Booktube community, because I literally found out that they were pretty much in the next town over. And so I said to myself, it would be wrong if I didn't try to make a new friend in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. When I started doing Booktube videos, I didn't really have anybody I could talk to about books except like my mom. And yeah, so it was great to find a bunch of people who were passionate about the same things I was passionate about.
Yeah, and I like the fact that when I make a video now, I always like to feel like I've gained something from it as well as giving something back, because especially considering the fact that YouTube has been the place that has turned me into the true pop culture and film appreciator that I'm supposed to be, because I had been saying for many, many years that I really need to see a whole bunch of classic films. And now, thanks to the Great Film Throwback Project that I did back in 2013, 2014, I have been watching all of these old classic films from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, and I'm feeling like I'm a better person for it, Like, today, I just watched for the very first time My Fair Lady. I never saw it. I never saw it. And I liked it. I just don't think that it was something that I would see over and over again, but it's good to know that I've seen it, because I know these actors, I know the songs, so to finally see it all in the movie finally was a nice, uplifting feeling for me. And I personally did like Audrey Hepburn in that film, especially since I actually watched for the first time Breakfast at Tiffany's earlier this year, and I loved that movie. I really liked it. That was a great movie. Yeah, I finally get why Holly Golightly is the pop culture icon that she is, and why people love that movie so much. I get it,
Yeah, that's a great movie. It's a great book too.
Oh yeah, that's what a lot of people tell me, and I'm really surprised that there haven't been many people that actually try to compare the book to the film.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video you could do.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a good idea, but we'll see what happens in the long run. So the third question that I'm going to have is, because one of the other things that I would like to harp on is the fact that you also are a musician. So as a YouTuber, what were your overall thoughts of the community over the last couple of years? And let's talk about your creation that really was a chance for you to branch out into our community, and that, of course, was the Friday Five.
The community, I haven't been as active in the community lately, but around like 2015, really like 2015, it was really, you especially, like, got everybody kind of more involved and talking to each other. We used to have the Facebook chat, and it was really cool to be, I felt like a part of a community. We were talking to different YouTubers, and it was really cool. But the Friday Five, I started because there was in Booktube, I don't know if they still do this. I think they probably do, but there was Top 5 Wednesday in Booktube.
Yeah, honestly, I haven't seen, unless I'm just not looking for it, I don't think many people do those anymore.
Yeah, but everybody was doing them.
Oh yeah.
back in the day. So I was like thinking about it, and I'm obsessed with music, like more so than books even. And I just started thinking, and nobody was really talking about music on YouTube. I mean, there were like some people, but it wasn't like a big thing. And so I decided, what if we had something similar to Top 5 Wednesday, where we could all talk about our favorite songs. And that's kind of how the Friday 5 was born. And it's been a lot of fun. I know I kind of like stopped doing them as much like over the past couple years, but I always have a ton of fun when I do them, or when I watch other people's Friday 5 videos. I just love talking about music, finding new bands. I've discovered like a lot of new bands from you guys who also do Friday 5 videos. So that's been really cool. And yeah, so I just thought it would be fun to talk about music on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of people that do actually have channels that are dedicated to music. I mean, one of the channels that I specifically watch is a channel called Spectrum Pulse. And what I appreciate about his channel is the fact that he does talk about some of the more popular artists out there, but he also really tries to go for some of the underground artists as well. And I'm always interested to see what he has to say about these groups, because there are certain things that I like. I mean, he just reviewed the latest album from Coldplay, and he didn't like it at all. But
Right.
I bought it and I listened to it, and I don't think that it's their best, but I think that there's a lot of interesting things within it. Like, there are hidden gems. It's
Right.
innovational, it's different. There's definitely a lot of experimenting going in there, and not everybody likes that. I have to give credit to any band that doesn't want their two albums to sound the same. I like
Right.
the fact when bands try to give me something different. Some people don't like that. Like, sometimes it happens and people hate it, and then sometimes it happens and people absolutely love it. Like, I can't seem to think about a band that did it and nobody liked it, but I remember when Paramore made their last album and it was completely different, and everybody is like falling head over heels for it. They love it, and I like it too. But I guess it's just
a great album.
I guess it's just the way the fans are. But yeah, there weren't that many people that were really talking about music. I was talking about music to a degree as well, but I did like the fact that you tried to branch out and you tried to bring us another passion of yours, because one of the few things that I always say about content creators is, it's great that you're here, whether you're a movie reviewer or a music reviewer or a book reviewer, but I know for a solid fact that unless I know you personally, there are so many other layers to you. And that's the reason why I personally wanted to make that Facebook group, because I wanted to get to know these people. I just loved what they were talking about. I loved their personalities. I wanted to get to know the person behind the camera. And I think the funniest thing is that everybody, when I talk to them in private, just to have a casual conversation, everybody was different when they weren't in front of their camera. And I loved that, because it was great to see their true, genuine selves. Not to say that you don't see that in people's YouTube videos. I think that when people do the Booktube newbie tag, that's the most genuine a person can be at the beginning, because that's when they're really trying to find themselves.
Right.
Yeah. And I do miss those days where I was able to just go into a Facebook chat and talk to everybody. But, it's a little sad when you go onto YouTube and some of those familiar faces that you love watching videos for are just not there anymore.
I know, it is sad. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I've been trying to make videos, so I'm trying to get back into it.
Yeah, I mean, the Sara Ella is definitely one of my favorite people that I found, and we became good friends too, but she also went down the path of being an author. Her new book just recently came out, but she's also had so much going on in her life. But I try to just say hello every now and again, because there are sometimes those friendships you don't want to lose. You want to hold on to those people, especially because when you found them and you needed them the most, they were there for you. To just let them go by the wayside and just accidentally burn the bridge. It's just not the right way to go. It's the reason why I tried my very best to stay in touch with you as well, because we always appreciated each other and respected one another. I just said it would be wrong to just let the friendship just go away, you know?
Yeah. I know. I mean, and I love Sara Ellis. She's great. I've kept up with her books as
Yeah,
well.
I've actually supported her, and I did buy the Unblemished trilogy, and I did read it. It wasn't entirely my cup of tea, but I really appreciated her writing style. It was very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just happy that even though the Friday Five has not really been as prominent, I mean, it never really grew into something like Top 5 Wednesdays, but the funny thing is, if it is in fact true that Top 5 Wednesdays is not really anything anymore, basically at this point in time, the Friday Five has survived, and the Friday
Yeah.
Five has beat it, which I think is a great little Cinderella story, if you ask me, because the small group that we have is still trying to crank things out.
Yeah, that's true.
I
Yeah,
really
and
like that.
I'm really happy that you guys have kept the Friday Five going, because I had to kind of like pass it on to you. So
Well,
yeah, I think it's great.
and that's something that every YouTuber at some point in time has to do that. Eventually, when people were making Q&A videos, I would always try to ask this one specific question, and that is, when the day comes and you decide not to make videos anymore, what's the legacy that you want to leave behind? I was always saying, how do you want to pass that torch on? Because eventually we're all going to.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So here's the fourth question for you, and that is, did the fact that you were a content creator play in the role of the publishing process of your novels? Because a lot of people who are doing book writing, I know that when Bree was making videos, she talked about the whole process that she did in regards to getting her name out there and getting her books published. So did creating the YouTube channel give you a little bit of a boost, or was it just something that was just there and you just were keeping it as a separate entity as you
Yeah,
were going through?
it did give me a little bit of a boost. I think it was more helpful to kind of share my journey publishing, with like I'm making videos about it and talking about like what I was going through with other writers. That was very helpful to me, more so than like the promotional aspect of it. So yeah, I definitely think it gave me a boost. It really just inspired me, because initially in my publishing journey, I started out trying to get traditionally published, and I got a literary agent, and I did that whole thing, and I was on submission with publishers for like 2 years with my book, and I was kind of hesitant to get into indie publishing, because it's just like I just thought it was going to be too much work. But then I started like watching other writers and authors on YouTube who had also done indie publishing. Like Brie Fauché is a good example, but and it kind of inspired me. I was like, well, if all these people can do it, maybe I can do it too. And it was nice to have other people I could talk to about what I was going through and the
Right.
publishing journey. Yeah.
And I think what's really funny is independent publishing seems to be the way that a lot of people are doing now. And maybe that could possibly be because the word and the concept of indie is really hot right now.
Right.
Indie movies, people love those. Indie bands, they love those. Indie
Yeah.
publishing. So it's like people really like the concept of the individual, or the just not being signed to a label, because when people think of those big labels, and we're seeing it a lot in popular culture right now, people feel that when you go with the big name, your identity and your purpose is like erased, and you have to do what they want you to do.
Right. Exactly.
And especially when you take a look at what's going on in Hollywood right now with all the reboots and remakes and all of that stuff, it's like people are just starting to get sick and tired of that. People want something new. They want something in your face, something fresh, something that really brings out the genuine person that is writing the story or directing the film. I mean, I think one of the most interesting things in regards to independence is the fact that earlier this year, Marvel Comics was doing a reboot of Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man's the hot ticket right now when you take a look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and everybody loves Tom Holland, but J.J. Abrams and his son were going to reboot the Spider-Man franchise, and they were going to make Spider-Man 1, and it was going to be written by the Abrams father and son. So like J.J. Abrams, you know, Disney and Marvel, they're saying, oh, this is going to be the biggest comic book ever. People are going to want to buy this. But they didn't. Yeah. As a matter of fact, the most sold comic book in that month was Todd McFarlane's Spawn 300. Image Comics, an independent comic book company. And it was a historic event because Spawn is now the longest running independent comic title in the history of comic books.
Wow.
And he's a well-known name. I mean, Spawn has been around since 1992. I mean, look, Spider-Man's been around since the 1960s, but the fact that an independent comic character that I didn't even know was still that popular just made that milestone. And the fact that he beat out a J.J. Abrams written version of Spider-Man, that just shows you what the public wants. The fact that one of the highest selling comics was also on an independent comic label, Earthworm Jim. The comic book labels are making an independent version of his character based on the video games, of course, and that's selling because not many people like the corporate thoughts and the corporate group thing. They don't want that. And that's where I feel independent is what's the thing right now, because people can still be themselves and not lose their individuality.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I do know is that when I see independent authors, I really see themselves in those pages. And that's what makes me happy. It really does.
Right. It really gives you more freedom to be, you know, creative in the way that you want to be.
Okay. So as I said before we started recording, I don't want to get any facts about your books screwed up. So I just want to ask you before I ask the question. We Own the Sky is your first book?
Yes.
Okay, good. So here's the question. After your first book, We Own the Sky, was officially published, did you feel that you would receive different levels of judgment now that you were a part of a community that didn't just know you by your name? They actually knew you as a person, like myself.
Right. Right. No, I think one of the cool things about the YouTube community, whether it's the Booktube community or the AuthorTube community, is everybody is very welcoming and supportive of each other. So I didn't feel like there was ever a lot of like judgment. You get the feeling that everybody's really cheering you on and everybody wants to see you succeed, because we all have an understanding that one person's success doesn't mean, you know, another person can't also succeed. It's not a competition. There's plenty of readers out there, you know, for everyone to share their books and their art and their creativity. Like there's enough to go around. So I think that everybody's been really supportive of me, not just as an author, but as a YouTuber, and sharing my journey and my story with other YouTubers or other, you know, people that watch YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, because it could go in that great direction, which I hope happens for everybody, but then I don't know how much in the loop you were about a year or two ago, but one of the most popular names in the Booktube community, Sasha Alsberg, made her first book, Zenith, and a lot of members of the community trashed it.
Yeah, I have heard about, stories like that. And yeah, there is that aspect of it. There are always going to be people who, have negative opinions about that kind of stuff.
I mean, they're
But
just opinions. They're not
yeah,
facts, you know?
maybe it's just that the people that I was close to on YouTube were all supportive of me. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think the
I think
problem, I'm sorry about that, but I think the problem with her was the fact that she was just because she was the big name and there was just so much
right,
hype around the book, and you know the book is finally here, and then when you saw all of these readers just picking it apart and saying, well, you want to know something? That's also a very important life lesson. Your best friends are your biggest critics. They're the ones that are
right,
going to let you know if what you did sucked, but you shouldn't use that as an excuse to not continue, because you always have to start somewhere.
right. And I think the bigger you are, like the more judgment and criticism you receive. So, you know, I guess in a way, not being like a super huge YouTuber has kind of worked in my favor because I think anybody who's really like big on YouTube, no matter what they do, they're gonna get criticized for it in some way, you
Well,
know.
that's what comes with the trade, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what's also very interesting is the fact that there are a lot of new things that are happening in the AuthorTube community. Now there's a lot of collaborative efforts in Write With Me videos. I don't know if you've been following these, because I do follow a
Yeah.
couple of other authors, like my friend Margaret from The Word Nerd, and one of the other people that I watch, Brooke from As Read by, no, not As Read by Brooke. Yeah, well, I can't remember the name of her channel, but there was another YouTuber who is an author. I know her name is Brooke, but she is also an author, and there are just some days where the two of these people, and as well as others, they get together with like 3 or 4 other fellow authors, and they spend a series of videos just typing away at their keyboards, and
Yeah.
that's a motivational tool.
Yeah, I've done some of those with Tamara Woods. She runs like the Write Stuff community, and she always has those writing spread videos where everybody just gets on and writes together, and it can be like really inspiring and cool. You know, it's kind of helps you to actually get more writing done when other people are writing with you. You know?
Yeah, because you know, you would think, you know, logically they would say, oh, when you got a whole bunch of people in the room, that would cause a distraction. But no, if everybody is there for one agenda. I mean, if people just enjoy watching live streams of you, you know, just not talking and just to hear the clicking of the keyboard, but at the same time, when people are watching you, you're saying, I think I should actually be typing. I should be writing something, you know? So it's another
Exactly.
little boost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next question that I have for you is about your presence on YouTube slowly diminishing after you did start getting some of your books published. I mean, you did continue to be here, but you weren't as connected as you used to be. And do you feel that losing that connection would have affected your writing? And also, what were some of your other outlets that you used to stay connected with your readers and your peers?
I think it was just a matter of not really having time to do everything. Because you know, I work a full-time job, and you know, I have friends and family and everything else that everybody else has. So it's like at some point I just had to kind of cut back on something because I had so many things going on in my life, and I didn't want to cut back on writing. So I had to kind of like quit doing as many YouTube videos, so I could have more time to write. But especially like now that I was actually publishing and I was trying to get books out on a kind of a consistent basis, so I had to kind of take a step back from YouTube. But it does make me sad that I haven't had as much time to watch other people's videos and talk to other people and comment and kind of, you know, just get conversations going. But I am a member of quite a few like Facebook groups online with writers and readers, and that has really helped me to stay connected to the community of just people who love books. And yeah, so I mean, that's that. Also, in real life, finding writing groups or, you know, book discussion groups, I've joined things like that. That has helped as well. So yeah, I think sometimes you have to shift where your community is, but there's always a place for you to find community, if that makes sense.
No, that actually makes perfect sense. Actually, that was really nice. I mean, I am looking at my 10th year here on YouTube. It's literally starting on January 1st, 2020, because I started in early January 2011. So it's definitely something to soak in. It's definitely something to reflect upon and see exactly where you have gone, because
Right.
you're now that whole typical cliche talk about going from point A to point B. Well, I have officially reached point B. So now I
Right.
got to take a look at this whole journey that I went from point A to point B. And YouTube, I don't know how I managed to do it. I don't, because I take a look at all the things that happened within this 10-year span. I mean,
Right.
I met my wife. We moved in together. I got married. I had to go to surgery for a minor outpatient procedure. My wife ended up getting shingles at the same time. We had seen the birth of a couple of our nieces. We bought ourselves a house, and
Right.
now we're hoping to start working on the next stage in life. You know, I also started a new job. I got a master's degree, all within the span of these 10 years. And unfortunately, and just for the record, those two things that I said last were not anything that happened after I bought a house. Those were all
Yeah.
actually before this. So there was in no particular order. But I don't know how I found the time to see all these movies and review them.
I
And
know.
I don't know how I did it. I don't, but I managed to find the time some way, somehow. I mean, maybe it was because of the fact that when I decided to get my master's degree, that I left my job and just started working there part-time at a minimal amount of time. So
Right.
that gave me a couple of days where I was free. And maybe it's because of the fact that I didn't move in with my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, until about a year or two down the line. Because of the fact that I wasn't with her all the time, I had some more time to go find the time for other things and other interests and hobbies. But no, I mean, I've sacrificed a lot of my interests in the last couple of years because, yeah, I just didn't have the time.
Right.
So it's only been the last couple of years, like in 2017, that was when I was finally starting to feel that YouTube was starting to take a little bit of a toll, because I had so many new obligations, so many new responsibilities. I was constantly more focused on budgeting my finances than worrying about the next movie that I was going to see. And
Right.
so that was when I was starting to say to myself, maybe that time where I'm going to stop making videos is approaching. You know, I wasn't sure, but it really felt like it.
Right.
So for the last 3 years, I sort of been thinking about how this whole journey is going to end and move on to the next journey, because I've always looked at this YouTube thing sort of like a television show. Like, I go by season.
Right.
So I'm like saying to myself, you know, if I could get to 10 years as a YouTube creator, of someone who creates constant content, I think that that's a pretty damn good achievement.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, and one of the big reasons why I stopped creating as many videos also was that I got married to somebody who had a lot of addiction issues, and so much of my life was about that, that I didn't have time to create as much content. But yeah, I mean, we've since kind of split up, so that's kind of why I've been getting back into making videos a little bit more, because I've had some more time for my own passions and my own hobbies and things like that. So yeah.
I mean, I think one of the great things that I know about my wife is the fact that she knows that I love things, and I want her to also stick with her hobbies. You know, I want her to have some of her own me time, because I feel
Right.
that if you give each other room to breathe and you're not just on top of one another, there's just room for keeping yourselves happy. Because I think that that's when people are just constantly pestering each other and just constantly watching each other over their backs, you know, that's where hostilities can unfortunately kick in. And that's not always something that happens, but it's something that does happen from time to time with
Yeah.
relationships. But, you know, at one point in time, I was seeing like 30, 40 movies in theaters, and I was willing to say, you know what, I'm going to see 20 this year because I have to use my money for more important things, like making sure that we have food on our table, making sure that in the winter our house is warm, you know.
Right.
So I get it. You know, I got to adult a little bit. And
Mhm.
the funny thing is, you know, I've been adult for many years already, and it's still a learning process. But,
Yeah.
you know, the thing I do like about this community is there's just the friends that you make here are the reasons why, even when you feel that it's time to go, you kind of don't want to go, because
Yeah.
because you're afraid of losing all of these great friendships. But you know what? Whether you make content or if you're just a wallflower here in the community, it's your job to keep those friendships alive, because you don't need to
Right.
create a video to just say hi to somebody, you know?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be, that's where your friendship started, was YouTube, but then, you can take it offline. Uh, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, look at all of these conventions. I mean, I've met a
Mhm.
whole bunch of people that I was subscribed to, and vice versa, for going to BookCon for 2 years. And I'm going to go next year, because apparently the year that I decided not to go was the year that everybody and their mother and their cousin twice removed all came to New York City for BookCon. It was
Uh-huh.
kind of funny. I was laughing, but I was a little upset because there were so
Right.
many people I just wanted to say hello to and just shake their hand and say, "You're fantastic. You know, I'm glad to finally meet you." But I'm going to go next year. I'm really excited, and my wife is hopefully going to join me because there's no conflicts in her schedule this year. And maybe I can get another person who I know, thanks to YouTube, to come as well. So we'll have a little squad going, and I think that that would be
Right.
fun. And the other thing is, there's also been a lot of things that are on edge, and tempers are flying high, you know, especially with what's been going on in our country socially. There's all people of cancer cult, not wow. There's been a lot of cancel culture, and when someone speaks outside the echo chamber, everybody just comes down on them with the wrath of 1,000 suns. And I
Yeah.
think to a certain degree, that's been another one of my frustrations, because I remember what YouTube was. YouTube was a good place where people were able to express themselves and voice differing opinions. But now, especially in Booktube, it seems that that's not the case anymore. And now it's nice to see that there are a couple of people that are saying, this is stupid, you know, stop, you know, let's be what this used to be one day, you know?
Right. Right.
So that will bring me to the last question. And since you have not been active on YouTube, keeping in touch with you was allowing me to see that you still do enjoy the platform. So do you think that possibly returning as a content creator will help you with a couple of things? And what are some of the ideas that you feel that other aspiring authors who are YouTubers need to know at this stage in the game?
I think any aspiring author, whether you're a YouTuber or not, I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that the writing should be the focus, and publishing, comes after. So you can't you you can't be writing a book with, thinking about, oh, how am I going to publish this, how am I, what are people going to think about it. Like, when you're writing, you just have to just write the book, and focus on, like, solely on that and the story and the actual craft of writing. And then when you get, something done, then you can start to think about publishing. And then you should also consider that everyone's publishing journey is going to be different. So
Absolutely.
you can't look at other people and compare yourself to other people. You should look to other authors, and YouTube is a great place to do this, but looking to other authors for inspiration is great, but not to compare yourself. So yeah, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. And what was the first part of the question?
That's okay. I'm sorry. It's very wordy. The first part of the question was, you seem to be coming back, and now the question is, what do you think the future holds in store for you as both an author and a YouTuber? Like, what, if you are planning to come back to YouTube, what do you want to bring to the table?
Right. Well, I think just connecting with other authors is something I'm excited about. And I think I just want to get back into just sharing my journey. It's a great thing to do, and it's honestly, just for me too, it's great to look back on. I've watched some old videos, like, recently, and it's great to have that sort of documentation of where you were in your life at that point. um so yeah, I think just sharing my author journey, and maybe that can inspire some people, and connecting with other authors is something I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, I also, if I may be so bold, I feel that you really should do some music stuff on your channel as well. I really want to know a little bit more about your taste, because from what I have heard, your taste is fantastic. I mean, thanks to you and a couple of other people, you guys are all the reasons why I love Churches so much right now. They're like one of my favorite bands, and
Right.
I was so angry that you don't even hear this band on the radio, and I'm like, it takes me to go to YouTube or literally go into the dark corners of the internet to find out about a new album from a band that I already know. It's just, music has taken such a weird turn right now, and I need those people that really know and appreciate music for more than just a single or for more than just the catchy hook. I want to know what's out there, and you're one of the people who, to me at least, knows what's out there.
Right. Right. And I've kind of connected with some people that are as passionate as I am about music in real life recently, and it's been really great, like, discussing my favorite music. And this person actually went back and watched some of my Friday 5 videos, and he was really, like, just impressed with them, and we had a good conversation about a lot of things. So yeah, I definitely want to get back into the Friday 5 and talking about music. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing, like, my favorite songs of 2019
Nice.
coming up soon. So yeah, hopefully in the next year, 2020, I'll be able to do some more videos talking about music, and maybe even some, like, album reviews. That would be cool.
I would like to see that. I would very much like to see that. Yeah, for me, it's like 2020 is going to be a very interesting year. I feel that 2020 is going to be the year where I do a lot more and not say that much, because, I've been doing those motivational moments, and those are always things that people like, but I decided to end those this year. I made my last one just because of the fact that I feel that I gave a lot of good insight, and I think right now, I mean, look, you've been following me for so many years. You know that my tagline is actions speak louder than words. So I think it's time to stop spewing the words and start taking some action. So I'm hoping that next year will be a year where I really connect with more people, do a lot more live projects with them, I mean, if I decide to not be a constant content creator, I still feel that being the presence in the community and still connecting with other people is important. Part of me is even wondering maybe, if I did like a monthly collaboration with a couple of regular people and just talk about the good things that we love in life and make
Yeah.
fun of the things that we don't like in life, just have a good time, just be, and not be formal, just be casual.
Right.
Just enjoy
Yeah.
yourselves,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, because I mean, like, while this is sort of structured, this specific thing that we're doing right now, you can tell that we're trying to be as casual as possible and just have a good conversation through the questions that are asked.
Right. Yeah, it's just like friends talking.
Yeah, but when you have a little bit of a structured agenda, you at least make sure that that all the topics that you want to talk about are
That's
taken
true.
care of. Because you know how when you do a live stream with someone and then you shut the thing off and you're like, oh crap, I forgot to talk about that. That was such a crucial thing. I do this all the time when I'm recording videos because I don't make scripts when I make movie reviews. I just want
Yeah.
to talk about it. And sometimes, unless I know for a solid fact that one little tidbit was so important that it would make or break the video, I'll re-record it. But if it's not,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, I always have to take little notes so I don't forget to mention things that are important because I'll totally forget.
Yeah, like sometimes I will have a little bit of notes on me specifically for names. Like if I don't remember the name, it's going to be bad because
Yeah.
I just did my review for Green Book and I had to edit out Viggo Mortensen's character in the movie because I kept calling him the wrong name. So I'm like, oh no.
Uh,
I felt like such an idiot. I really did. But anyway, that wraps it up. Those are all the questions, and that's another year in the books for Sunday sit downs. It has definitely been a great year. There have been so many great people that have come on this show and have talked. Sarah, it was so great to officially cap off the second season with a topic that I know that there are so many people on YouTube that wanted to hear these types of things. And if people want to leave stuff in the comments, please let Sarah know that you took something from her. Her information will be in the description box, and I'll even put, if you're okay with this, I'll put some links to your books.
oh yeah, definitely. That would be great.
I'll give them some Amazon links. I think that that's important because one of the few things that needs to happen is there needs to be some more people in the community that review your book. There were some, but not many. And I was really surprised by that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be great.
All right.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I think it's really cool that you had me at the end of the season. That's exciting.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we did that too. So that's it, everybody. Thank you very much for watching another episode of Sunday Sit Downs. And I'll be taking a little bit of a break, but I will be back in January for another great topic to discuss. But more importantly, another great YouTuber to discuss it with. And just a little bit of a tease, everybody. It's going to be a very interesting year next year. So take care, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.